This is the summary of the fifth Harry Potter movie, The Order of the Phoenix. Chapter 1, A Different Vacation. Harry is nervous, distracted and amazed at not hearing from the wizarding world, thinking about the plans of the Dark Lord Voldemort after his recent return. As he is lying in his Aunt Petunia's garden, he hears a loud explosion and hoping that it is something magical, he decides to go investigate. Finding nothing, Harry's cousin Dudley teases him by saying that he overheard him talking in his sleep, talking about a certain Cedric. "Who is Cedric, your boyfriend?" Dudley asks. Harry is about to attack him when, without explanation, two Dementors appear. Harry uses the Patronus charm to defend himself. Dudley is scared, even though Muggles can't see Dementors but can feel the lack of happiness they attract. Arabella Figg, Harry's neighbor, appears and tells him that she has seen what he has done, and reveals that she is a squib, and is watching Harry on Albus Dumbledore's orders along with Mundungus Fletcher, a delinquent wizard who, upon disappearing, caused a noise similar to an explosion and having abandoned his post allowed the appearance of the Dementors. Harry takes his cousin to his house and his uncles ask him for an explanation. A letter from the Ministry of Magic arrives announcing Harry's expulsion from Hogwarts, to be followed by another stating that Harry must appear before them in a disciplinary hearing, to explain why he used magic on a Muggle. A howling letter arrives, saying "Remember my last." Petunia. Even though Uncle Vernon wants to kick him out of the house, Aunt Petunia says that she can't leave. Several days go by and Harry is locked in his room, not hearing from Ron and Hermione, which makes him very angry and frustrated. Chapter 2, Harry on Trial. One day when Harry's uncles go out, he hears a noise in the house, goes to see and finds many wizards, including Alastor Moody, Remus Lupin, Nymphadora Tonks, and others. These wizards take him to a dark and gloomy house, 12 Grimmauld Place. There are the Weasley family and other wizards in a meeting. When he arrives he becomes aware of what is happening. Finally Harry meets his friends Ron and Hermione who inform him that Dumbledore has forbidden them from giving any information about what was happening while Harry was away from Hogwarts. Finally the day of the hearing arrives. Harry is very nervous, he goes with Mr. Weasley to the Ministry of Magic. Dumbledore defends him and he is cleared of all charges. Chapter 3, Return to Hogwarts. On the Hogwarts Express, Harry meets a girl named Luna Lovegood, who is very mysterious, weird, and a friend of Ginny's. Getting off the train, Harry sees some strange creatures, called Thestrals. However, Luna says that she can see them, because she saw her mother die from a bad spell. Dumbledore announces that they have a new defense against the dark arts teacher, Dolores Umbridge, who was a woman from the Ministry who was present at Harry's hearing and that she was frog-faced according to Harry. She doesn't let them use magic in her classes, which are more theoretical than practical. This encourages Harry, Hermione, and Ron to form a defense group, Dumbledore's Army. In the 5th year, students must take their T.I.M.OS, which are exams that indicate what courses they can take for the next 2 years. Hagrid is not at school, and is being replaced by Professor Grub-Leplank. Professor Umbridge gains more and more power through teaching decrees issued by the Ministry. Percy Weasley sends a letter to his brother Ron telling him that Harry is a very dangerous boy, who just likes to attract attention and to warn Umbridge about any strange behavior from him, that she would be happy to help him. Ron, however, refuses to do that. Ron begins to play in the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Before this, Slytherins compose a song called To Weasley We Will Crown with the intention of intimidating him. Despite this, Gryffindor wins, as Harry is able to catch the snitch. In that match he fights with Draco Malfoy, which is why they are expelled from the team along with Fred Weasley, and by order of Umbridge they are banned for life to play Quidditch. Every night Harry begins to dream of a door, which he can never enter, until in one of those dreams he succeeds and sees how a snake crawls through the body of a man. Suddenly it begins to attack him, leaving him seriously injured, realizing that it was Mr. Weasley. At that moment Ron wakes up Harry, who was lying face down on the floor, and tells Ron his dream. Harry, very scared, goes to see Professor McGonagall, who directs the pair of friends and the Weasley brothers to Dumbledore's office, who at telling him what happened tells Phineas Nigellus Black to go tell Sirius that Harry and the Weasley children are going to 12 Grimmauld Place. Mr. Weasley is taken to St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies and Injuries, where the Weasley brothers, Harry and Hermione, come to visit him. Harry spends that Christmas with Sirius, the Weasley family and some members of the Order. In those days, Professor Snape arrives telling Harry that he will give him private classes in occlumency, by order of the director, to which Sirius reacts in a bad way, telling Snape that if he dares to mistreat Harry, he will see him. Chapter 4, Snape's Worst Memory. In an occlumency class that Harry is taking in order to prevent Lord Voldemort from entering his thoughts, Snape leaves Harry alone in his office. Harry soon notices that Snape has a pensieve, and he walks over to it and goes in without hesitation, wondering if Snape has any knowledge that Harry doesn't about Voldemort. In the flashback, he sees Snape doing his defense against the dark arts OIMO, indicating that the flashback takes place when Snape was in 5th year, much like Harry does today. Snape and the other students are in the Great Hall taking the exam, though the large tables have been pushed aside to make room for various chairs and tables. Harry, looking at all the students, finds his father, James Potter, taking the exam. He also sees Remus Lupin, Peter Pettigrew, and Sirius Black. After the exam is over, the four of them go to the outside of the castle where Snape is also there. James ridicules Snape in front of everyone, and Harry's mother, Lily, enraged by this, tells James to leave him alone, but Snape doesn't like her pity and calls her a mudblood instead. The current Snape appears inside the pensieve and pulls Harry out. Humiliated that the boy had seen James humiliate him at school, he orders Harry out of his office at that moment, and tells him that he will never take another occlumency lesson from him. Harry never tells Ron or Hermione of this memory. With Harry's expulsion, Gryffindor's victory in Quidditch becomes difficult. However, Gryffindor still wins, thanks to a good performance by Ron and Ginny Weasley. Professor Umbridge soon learns from Marietta Edgecombe that they have formed a group called E.D, and accuses Harry of forming it, as it is against the rules to form an advocacy group. She forces him to go to Dumbledore's office to accuse him. Fudge, the then Minister for Magic, was there along with some Aurors. They are about to take Harry away, when Albus Dumbledore says that he was the one who created the DA, to overthrow Fudge and thus protect Harry. Fudge tries to arrest Dumbledore, but he disappears after a fight with Fawkes, his Phoenix. Professor Umbridge is appointed headmistress of Hogwarts, while she searches everywhere for Dumbledore to be arrested and taken to Azkaban. After Dumbledore's departure, Fred and George decide that they don't care about their studies anymore and decide to cause disorder in the castle, which is why they set off a bunch of fireworks and create a portable swamp. Professor Umbridge discovers them and is furious with them. The two brothers, finding themselves cornered by Umbridge and her inquisitorial squad, grab their broomsticks, tell the students to visit their joke shop, and run away from Hogwarts, never to return. Hagrid takes Hermione and Harry to the woods, so they can see something. When they arrive, Hagrid shows them a wild giant who doesn't speak Hagrid's language, named Grawp, who is Hagrid's half-brother. He asks the two students to try to teach him to speak when they can, because Umbridge is likely to fire him like she did Professor Trelawney. Chapter 5, Fight and Flight. June arrives, the month when the 5th years must take their T.I.M.os. Harry does all very well, especially defense against the dark arts, since that was his forte. While taking the History of Magic theory test, Harry falls asleep. In his dream, he sees a Ministry of Magic door at the end of a corridor. He then sees Sirius Black in the Ministry as well, receiving the Cruciator's curse from Lord Voldemort. Harry gets up in a fright at this, screaming for help. He goes to Umbridge's office, who is not there, to flew with Sirius's house, to see if he is there. When it comes to communication, Creature, the house elf of the Black House on the orders of Narcissa Malfoy, says that Sirius is not there, and Harry becomes even more nervous, thinking that his dream may be coming true. Someone interrupts the communication, and Harry steps out of the fireplace. Outside is Umbridge, and she forces him to confess about who he was talking to. Harry refuses to speak, and then Draco Malfoy's fellow students in Slytherin bring Neville, Luna, Ginny, and Ron, who were watching while Harry was in the office, to Umbridge and asked if they knew who Harry was talking to. Neither told her the truth, and then Umbridge threatened to force the answer out of her with the Cruciator's curse. Hermione says it's illegal, and she can't do it because the Ministry of Magic would find out. They didn't know when I sent those two Dementors to Little Whinging either, says Umbridge. Harry can't believe this, and asks why he did it. Umbridge says that someone had to stop Potter from saying that Voldemort was back. So, Umbridge insists on putting the Cruciator's curse on Harry. Hermione makes up that Harry was talking to Dumbledore about a weapon to combat the Ministry. Umbridge is shocked at this, and asks them to show her the weapon. Hermione leads them into the woods, speaking loudly to be heard. The centaurs from the forest appear, asking them what they are doing there, since centaurs hate humans. Umbridge calls them lesser beings and they attack her and take her into the forest. The centaurs argue about what to do with the two friends. Hermione messes up, and just when they want to take them away, Grawp, Hagrid's younger half-brother, appears, and when he recognizes Hermione, he exults, asking with his hoarse voice about Hagrid, who at the moment he is exiled by Umbridge herself. This further angers the centaurs, who have missed the opportunity to attack Harry and Hermione. They shoot their arrows at Grawp's face, who collapses. Then Neville, Luna, and Ginny appear with Hermione and Harry's wands, who go in search of the Thestrals. They get on them and head to London, to the Ministry of Magic. When they get to it, they start looking everywhere for Sirius. They soon find a room with several crystal balls, with one of them having SPT to APWBD Dark Lord and Harry Potter written on it. Harry doesn't understand why his name is there, and takes it. But he soon hears Lucius Malfoy's voice behind him telling him to hand over the prophecy. Chapter 6, The Prophecy. Harry sees that there are several Death Eaters in the room: Lucius Malfoy, Bellatrix, Rodolphus, Anne Rabaston Lestrange, Walden McNair, Mr. Knott, Avery Jr., Augustus Rookwood, Mulciber Jr., Antonin Dolohov, Mr. Crabbe and Jugson, and he tells all his friends to smash the bookshelves around him to cause a distraction. They do battle with the Death Eaters, and come to cause several casualties on their side. But resistance is short-lived, and Harry is forced to deliver the prophecy to Neville Longbottom, who rips his robes, thus dropping the prophecy, causing it to split apart. Soon, Albus Dumbledore, Sirius Black, Alastor Moody, Nymphadora Tonks, Remus Lupin, and Kingsley Shacklebolt appear, to fight the Death Eaters. One of the Death Eaters, Bellatrix Lestrange, Sirius's cousin, has a duel with him, and they begin to fight with her wands. Bellatrix fires a bolt of lightning at Sirius that hits her directly in the chest, and Sirius falls through the veil of death, dying instantly. Lupin tells Harry that Sirius has died from falling into a portal to another dimension. Harry loses control over himself and goes to kill Bellatrix, but she laughs at him, saying that she is incapable of killing anyone. She forces him to give her the prophecy, but Harry says that she's broken on the way. Bellatrix starts screaming in panic, trying to find the prophecy. Harry is the one who laughs at her now, when, at the least expected moment, Lord Voldemort himself appears. Lord Voldemort asks Harry if it is true that he broke his prophecy, and Harry says that he did. Everything becomes clear at that moment. Voldemort conveyed to him the dream of Sirius being tortured on purpose, so that Harry would go to the Ministry, where Sirius was supposedly being tortured so that he would take a prophecy, for only the people to whom the prophecies refer can see these without going crazy. He wanted Harry to get to the prophecy so he could take it away from him later. But now, the prophecy is broken. Voldemort says he's fed up with him, and casts a killing curse on him, but the wizard statue from the Ministry's Magical Brothers fountain magically moves and defends him. Harry turns and sees Dumbledore casting the spell for the statue to defend him. Voldemort and Dumbledore duel. Dumbledore tells Voldemort that the Aurors will come, but when they arrive, Voldemort disappears along with Bellatrix, and the minister claims to have seen the Dark Lord. Dumbledore hands Harry the head of the statue, telling him that it is a portkey. This transports Harry to Dumbledore's office at Hogwarts. Chapter 7, The Second War Begins. Harry appears in the office, and all the former Hogwarts principals in the pictures are very attentive to what is going to happen. Dumbledore appears willing to give him an explanation that, according to him, should have been given 4 years ago. When Harry was about a year old, Dumbledore went to interview Sybil Trelawney to see if she would get a job at Hogwarts. In the middle of the interview, Sybil went into a trance, saying a prophecy about her defeating Lord Voldemort. The one with the power to defeat the Dark Lord draws near. Born to those who have thrice defied him, he will come into the world at the close of the 7th month. And the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal, but he will have a power that the Lord of Darkness does not know. And one of the two must die at the hands of the other, since neither of them will be able to live while the other is alive. The only one with the power to defeat the Lord of Darkness will be born at the end of the 7th month. An undercover Death Eater was able to hear the first part of the prophecy, but was soon discovered by the local waiter. This Death Eater told half of the prophecy to Voldemort, who got scared and decided to kill the child, the son of parents who had defied him 3 times, who had been born at the end of July. There were 2 possibilities, Harry Potter or Neville Longbottom. However, Voldemort decided on Harry. And Voldemort lost his powers that night, but he killed James and Lily Potter. The prophecy was kept in the Ministry's prophecy room, and what he wanted was SPT. To APWBD Dark Lord and Harry Potter was Sybil Patricia Trelawney to Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. Dark Lord and Harry Potter. That was the reason why Voldemort attacked Harry in the first place, and killed his parents to get to him. Dumbledore mentions that he was the one who sent the howling letter to Aunt Petunia at the beginning of the year. Harry was dropped off at the Dursleys' home the day after Voldemort's attack, with a letter written personally by Dumbledore. In it she told Aunt Petunia never to kick Harry out of the house because part of Lily's sacrifice of saving Harry stayed with Petunia, and the screaming letter at the beginning of the current school year reminded her of that letter's promise. "Remember my last Petunia." She also reveals to him why she never looked Harry in the eye for the entire school year. How Voldemort could see what Harry saw, seeing Dumbledore, he would attack him. Harry realizes that he will have to personally kill Voldemort, or else Voldemort would kill him. Harry can't believe this and it pains him to accept it, as does Dumbledore, who sheds a tear that hides in his long white beard. In the Daily Prophet, it is finally revealed that Voldemort is back and the wizarding community is ready to accept it. Some Death Eaters were discovered and imprisoned in Azkaban, including Lucius Malfoy. Fudge has several problems for having denied the truth for a whole year, which would end in his dismissal, as told in the next book. The Second Wizarding War has begun. The First War was Voldemort's first period of power until his fall in 1981. The Second War has begun as he has regained power from him. Harry is still affected by the fact that his godmother has died. He even goes so far as to ask nearly headless Nick if Sirius could come back as a ghost, but Nick says that even he doesn't know the mysteries of death. The end of the year arrives, and Dumbledore is already headmaster again. Umbridge was fired by the Ministry for having to accept Voldemort's return. Harry returns to London via the Hogwarts Express, but not before having turned Malfoy, Crabbe and Goyle into slugs for asking for trouble. At the train station, several members of the Order of the Phoenix, including Alastor Moody, threaten Uncle Vernon, telling him that if Harry has any problems at home, they will come immediately. Glad of this, Harry heads towards the car, while Uncle Vernon, Aunt Petunia, and Dudley run after him.